Hi, Namaste, and welcome to Breakout with me, Abha. Thank you so much for watching. You know, on this show, we are committed to bring to you exceptional people who have changed the game. They've changed the rules of the game, and they are here to demystify this whole rules game for us, the process of success that they acquired on the way to their success. And guess what? You know what? They are letting us sort of reveal and get into that process ourselves so that we can break out of what we think is limiting and break into something that we think is necessary for us. Because from these people, we have learned that there is only one rule to the game, and that is there are no rules to the game. We just make them up all on the way. Now, my guest today is one very interesting gentleman. He's called the Motivation Doctor, and he's an international speaker. He's a best-selling author and a sales growth expert, and he's going to reveal how to motivate your customers, motivate your team, and motivate yourself. For the past 22 years, he's been developing managerial talent, sales talent, and unveiling the secrets of exceptional customer service to his clients throughout the world and turning them into consistent top performers. He himself was a manager in 4 different organizations over 15 successful years, and that is where he saw a gap and he found a niche because he knew that there were real challenges that managers and salespersons face every day, finding and retaining and growing business, motivating their staff and generating more sales. So what he did was he found a solution to it. He authored 3 books to answer that question. So please welcome my very interesting guest today, Alan Fairweather. Alan, how are you?
I'm very well, Abha. How are you? Are you well too?
Very good. I'm doing very good. I guess it's very cold at your end.
It's cold at my end, yes, in the northern hemisphere.
Right.
We're expecting snow tomorrow, so I'll need to wrap up a bit more and turn up the heating and keep warm.
Great. So I'm in a place where it's pretty hot and humid.
Yes, I know.
So
I've been there. I've been there.
While you're putting the heating on, I'm putting the air conditioning on. So it's but it's great technology. We can speak to each other at any point. So
That's great. Good.
right, Alan, I want to ask you. You call the Motivation Doctor, and that's a very interesting sort of title that you have for yourself. You're a very sought after keynote speaker, and you run seminars, you run workshops across various countries in the east and the west of the world, and you've been working with some very big companies like Deutsche Bank, like Siemens, Sky TV, British Telecom. Tell me, is motivation different for people across different countries as a cultural thing? Yeah, I need to understand because I think it's because this side of the world has a different view of it, and when we go to the West, I go to the US, it's a different view of it. People get involved in a very different way. So I think you can answer that question better for me.
Yeah. I think it's true to say that there are different cultures. I mean, I've run training sessions in Vietnam and the Philippines and in Jakarta,
Right.
and all over the world. And it is true, yes, people are different. But at the end of the day, we have lots of similarities. We're all people. We all are concerned about the people we live with. We all have families. We all have children that we care about. And a lot of the time, what I'm trying to get across, if you're a manager and you manage people, then at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what country you're in. People have always said to me, I was in the Philippines and managers there say to me, oh, but it's different here, Alan. And then when you go to another country, you go to Vietnam and they say, oh, but it's different here. And it really isn't different. I've even had people say to me, I'm in Scotland. And I've had people say to me in London, in England, and say, oh, it's different here in London, But at the end of the day, we're dealing with people. And people have so many similarities. We're all human beings.
Right.
And we all care about things. And if we can just lock into that, we can help these people. So There's not a lot of difference.
Not a lot of difference. Okay. You've authored 3 books, and all these books were addressing that gap that you found while you were a manager, that the managers and salespeople face real challenges every day,
Yes.
whether working and going out. So give us a peep into the kind of challenges that you faced when you were a manager.
Well, I found that, and this seems to happen throughout the world, that we promote people into management jobs, and
Right.
we promote them into the job because of the skills that they have within the business. For example, he's a good engineer, or he is a good accountant, and then we need a manager, so we promote one of these people into a management job. But so many organizations don't help them. They don't, they help them in terms of maybe all the technical things, but what about the people skills?
Right.
And often we sometimes, promote people that do not have these people skills. They're not particularly good listeners. They're not particularly good empathizers.
Right.
We need to, one, pick the right people and then help them. And when I was promoted into a management job, I realized that I now have whatever it was, 6 or 7 or 8 people reporting to me, and I would lie in bed at night worrying about how I would deal with all the particular problems.
Right.
So I went, I studied motivation in the UK, went to the university and in my own time and studied motivation, and that helped. And I read every book I could find.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I practiced that with my people, and I realized that would help. And that was why I wrote the first book.
Right.
It's aimed at middle managers,
Right.
people who need the help,
Right.
people who say, I've got to maybe reprimand this person or deal with it. What do I do?
Right.
Do I, and they sometimes, and I wanted to make it easier for people,
Right.
minimize the stress,
Right.
Get the job done, get the message across to your team,
Right.
and all these things. And more importantly, tell people when they're doing well and tell people when they're not doing so well.
Right.
And coach them. That's often my message. Coach them rather than tell them what to do.
Exactly. So I think it all boils down to people, managing people, working with people, understanding people. So it's very important. So that it also obviously involves an element of emotional intelligence, which has now become the key to success and successful leadership or management. So
Absolutely.
It's very interesting to see that you've picked up that part for middle management to teach people, because a lot of people do not come with these skills. They do
That's
not
right.
know how to do it. So you teaching a technique called becoming a motivational salesperson or a motivational manager. You develop your talent as a motivational manager or a salesperson. What exactly does that entail in terms of if a middle manager is listening to us now or watching us? What does he have to look for in himself or in his environment to start becoming a lot more motivational than just being a person who's getting the job done?
Yeah. I think first off, he or she has to realize that you don't actually motivate people. You don't motivate people. You
Right.
create the environment where they motivate themselves.
Right.
Because it's got to come from within.
Right.
They've got to want to do it. This kind of idea, the football coach or the, whatever, getting the team together at halftime and motivating them. Well, yeah, I mean, that's a sort of team talk or something.
Right.
But over the long term, if you've got a team of people, you've got to realize they're all individuals, they're all different, and you have to treat them all in a different way. But realize that, as I said a few minutes ago, it has to come from within.
Right.
They've got to want to do it. And as I say, you need to create the environment. You create the environment by giving them feedback,
Right.
by, getting them in on things, letting them know that they're part of the business.
Right.
And it's finding that the thing within each individual person.
Right.
I mean, what motivates me, what gets me motivated may be different for somebody else.
Right. Absolutely.
And managers keep saying to me, every country I go to, they'll say, it's money. That's what people want. Give them more. It's money they want. That's what motivates them.
Right.
And then I work with them, and because it's not. It isn't. It's actually not. But people will say to me in other countries, oh, but this is a poor country and our people, only work for the money. And the ironic thing is they don't. They want to feel cared about.
Right.
They want to think that someone cares about them. Yes, they want the money, And if they don't have enough money, then they'll be demotivated.
Right.
But it's not the kind of thing that gets them motivated to do the job.
Right. That's not
So
yeah, that's not the only thing. I think that's one of the things, but there's a lot
one of the
more.
things.
Yeah,
It's
there's a
not,
lot more. Yeah,
it's
there's a
not the main thing.
right,
That's
right.
right.
That's not
It's
the
not,
main thing, but one of the key things. But I think when it comes down to people and their persons and personalities, it's very important for them to feel good in the space and be able
yes,
to feel from within that they are worthy and they are adding that worth. So very,
I agree with you. Absolutely.
yeah. I also want to ask you because you've also written a book called How to Manage Difficult People.
Yes. Yeah.
In this environment where we say we create an environment where people will feel motivated themselves, there are a lot of people out there who have difficulty in coming into that environment or being able to sort of fit into that environment that is created, or they have their own personal difficulties in being able to perform in a manner that is conducive to the company environment.
Yes.
So how does one deal with that? How does
Well,
one
it,
deal with difficult people?
well, it is a huge challenge. I mean, I've joined companies as a manager, and often, you're faced with a situation with a team of people, and you walk into your first meeting, and they're all sitting with their arms folded and looking at you and saying, "Okay, come on, motivate me, manage me,"
Right.
and I've had this sort of horrible feeling and think, "Oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do?" But again, it comes back to you need to get to know each individual. And sometimes you maybe just need to accept that we are all different. They think differently from you. They think in a different way. We all think differently. And it's trying to just understand them.
Right.
If someone, for example, I'm always a person who will show up on time. I'm always on time. I believe you should always be on time. But I work with people who have a different, they think, well, 1 o'clock, yeah, I'll be there around one, and it could drive me crazy.
Right.
But then you have to sit down with them and say to them, look, this meeting starts at 1 p.m. I'm not happy with the fact that you are walking in at 1:15.
Right.
So I need to discuss with you how we resolve this because I'm not prepared to live with it. I understand that you've got a much more laid back, you don't really care too much. But if I start to argue and to fight with them, I get stressed, they get stressed,
Right.
and maybe it doesn't get resolved. So at the end of the day, you've got to become a bit of an amateur psychologist. You've got to understand people
Right.
and not get, as I say, hooked by their behavior.
Right.
Why are they doing this? What did they do? What did they say that for? Why are they behaving like that? Calm, just calm.
Right.
Just listen and understand them
Right.
and communicate. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard. It's the hardest job in the world. Managing people is tough.
I think that is the hardest and the most important job in the world.
Yeah.
But I think there is
Yeah.
no way out. We have to do it. And I
Yeah.
completely agree that I think everybody has to have a little bit or maybe a basic knowledge of psychology, human psychology, to be able to work through this.
Yes.
It's very important. So like you say about punctuality, showing up is half the thing done. And a lot of
That's
people
right.
do not show up. And
That's right.
that's sad because I think
That's
they
right.
miss the bus when they don't do
That's right.
that because half their impression is going down just because of that. So
Exactly.
crazy. So you're also a sales growth expert, Alan. Tell me, I mean, we always talk about making more sales. Tell me about the cranky people, the cranky customers, the sales resistant people. How do you go and reach out to them? They just don't open up. They just don't open up to the idea because selling in itself is, I think, misunderstood.
Yeah.
It is misunderstood to a point where people think, oh, they're trying to push me into buying something or
Yeah.
get my money out of my pocket.
Yeah.
It's probably not that because we all buy and sell. However, there are a lot of people out there who are, resistant, very,
Yeah.
very resistant. They just don't get it. I mean, they just don't want you to say anything to them.
Sorry.
How do you deal with such kind of people?
Sorry. Well, I think we are all resistant to a certain extent. My phone goes and there's an unusual voice on the end of the phone. I think, oh no, it's somebody trying to sell me something, and I don't want it. I don't need it. I can't afford it, or whatever. So it's a natural thing. And I think that we go into any interaction with that, remembering that situation. But selling has changed in my lifetime. This idea that you sell things. You get out there and you bang, 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 and you tell them all the benefits and, keep hammering at them. But it's changed now. Selling is more about building relationships,
Right.
because people are only going to buy from people they like.
Right.
We will not buy from people that we don't. You will know this. People will know this. They walk into a store or they come face to face with a salesman, and they don't like them. There's going to be more resistance.
Right.
There's going to be a lot more. It's like politicians on tele. If you don't like Hillary Clinton or you don't like Donald Trump, then you're not going to listen to what they say.
Right.
People are going to look at these politicians and think, nah, I don't like that guy or that lady, and they won't listen. So one, you got to sell yourself. There's no doubt about that. And you do that by being a good listener,
Right.
being interested in the other person, and by asking questions.
Right.
Selling is about asking questions nowadays, not about talking.
Right.
It's not a case of, we've got this new mobile phone and it does this and it does that and it does the other thing. And people are saying, I don't care. I don't know. So it's a question of saying, you want to buy a mobile phone? Can I ask what you want to use it for?
Right.
Do you need for this, or what do you use at the moment? Lots of questions. And then eventually you can identify if there is a need, what that need is.
Right.
Because so much of the time, people will resist you for a whole range of reasons. One, because they don't trust you because they don't know you. They might not particularly like you initially.
Right.
They're thinking of something else in their mind.
Right.
There's a whole load of things.
Right.
And sometimes a person will say, oh no, it's too expensive.
Right.
Now that could just be, the salesman who's not very professional, when he hears that or she hears that, they try to reduce the price.
Right.
Or we'll give you a discount. But that's maybe not what the person has meant. They may not have understood you.
Right.
I've had people try to sell things to me, and my brain's sometimes thinking, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't understand the jargon.
Uh-huh.
You're talking about a financial situation here, and you're using lots of buzzwords and jargon. And I don't want to look stupid, so I just say, all right, okay, all right, let me think about it, or I don't want it just now. But the point is, I haven't understood.
Right.
And the good salesperson needs to ask questions. Is that okay?
Right.
Have you understood that? Have I made that clear?
Right.
Or have I made that complicated?
Right.
Was there any part of that you did? So questions.
Yes.
Questions.
So
And listening.
I know listening. I'm going to bring you to that, because I think the key thing you just spoke about was listening to the customer and
That's
tuning into the need of what they're looking for, rather
right.
than, because the salespeople, the way they are trained, or probably for the reasons that they're selling,
Yeah.
they just go on about the product, where most of the times, it is like you rightly said, the jargon, the buzzwords, the technicality. Most people don't understand. So we need to simplify that and then listen to them and as to what they need. So I think listening, I think we can tell all the viewers that listening is a very important skill, and we should
absolutely
clearly be in mode listening when we are selling.
That's right.
Questions.
And really listening. I mean, the point is, the people who are in sales, as I was in different companies, you hear the same old, if you like, objections or resistance all the time.
Right.
Whatever it was, I used to sell. My first job was selling electrical appliances, and you would bring out the product, and the person would go, no, I don't like this, and you think, yeah, I've heard all this before, heard it all before, and you want to jump in and try and deal with that, but you really need to listen and say, wow, yeah, okay, I understand why you would say that.
Right.
Yeah. So
Right.
Listening,
very important. Tell us about the sandwich technique. I saw on your, what is that? I didn't get the opportunity to look through the whole of it. So I thought, let me ask you, what is the sandwich technique?
There's a lot of people I hear people talk about the sandwich technique. I've heard it. It's maybe a bit old fashioned now. I don't know, but people will say, well, if you're going to say, let's say, reprimand someone, there's always this fear. I don't want to upset them or demotivate them. So I'll tell them some good stuff, like, hi, John, I'm really pleased with what you're doing, and you're really doing well, and I'm glad to see how you're progressing. That's the first layer. And now comes the meat, The only thing is, John, you're not reporting on time, I'm not getting your reports, and that's really a big problem. And if you could just fix that. And then the bottom part of the sandwich is, but you're doing great, everything's going well, But so at the end of the day, the individual, what they hear is, I'm doing really well, I'm really great. Well, there's some tiny little problem about reporting, but it's obviously not a big deal. It is a big deal. And I'm more for forget the sandwich technique, come straight to the point.
Right.
Come straight to the point. Say, John, I need to speak with you. There's something I'm concerned about. I just want to talk to you about how we resolve this. I'm willing to listen to what you've got to say, but we need to get this resolved.
Right.
Your reports are coming in late. That's 3 times the report is coming in late.
Right.
So how can we resolve this? One, can you tell me why that is, and how can we resolve that?
Right.
And I often say to managers, if you take that route, fine. But you've also got to balance that on a day-to-day basis. Yes, tell them regularly when they're doing well. Tell them regularly. When you see them doing something you like, tell them. When you see them doing something you don't like,
right.
Tell them.
Right.
And get that balance. So when it comes to the point when you're telling John about his reports, hopefully he's going to think, well, Alan's a good guy. He always tells me when I'm doing well. He always supports me. And I really have to listen to him now. And I suppose he's right, and I've just not been doing it because of whatever. Right. So it's not, sometimes managers, they're brought up to believe they should be big and tough, big tough. And I've heard this from male managers and female managers, and and they think, oh, you got to be tough on these people. And why? I'm not saying that you want to be all, as I say, nicey and so on. It's the middle line. You have to take the middle line. It's the same with your children.
Right.
It's the same with your children.
Right.
If your children are going to wreck the house, then you can either shout and scream at them. Right. Or you can say, don't do that, darling. Right. Don't do that. And neither of these are going to get you anywhere. There has to be a middle line. Right.
I think one needs to be tough on the job rather than being tough on the people. So a lot of times it's also boils down to sometime when people cannot take criticism very well. So your communication skills comes into play. Your language comes into play. How and what time and how do you communicate? The whole thing is very important. So you use this. You speak about the 3 secrets to motivation that works for you when you were a manager. So what are those 3 secrets of motivation for managers that they can just pick up now while they're watching you?
Well, that is a tough one. That's actually a tough one, particularly for a middle manager, because a middle manager has his team on one side and he has his boss on the other. Right. And his boss is making demands on him, and then he's making demands on his people. Right. But it is a challenge. I think most definitely you have to be on the side of your team. You have to support them. You have to, support them to your boss. You have to, to take that middle line. It is extremely tough. On seminars and workshops, I get managers coming up to me at coffee break and say, Alan, what you're saying is right. It's absolutely great. And I should do this with my team. But my boss doesn't treat me like this. Right. And the answer to that is, well, yeah, but perhaps you have to use these techniques with your boss. You have to give feedback to your boss. Right. And use these same techniques again. Listen to them, give them feedback, tell them when there's something they do that you're happy with, and sometimes things you're not happy with, but that takes a lot of courage. But because the great buzz you'll get as a manager is working with your team. Right. It's working with your team, and I can remember a situation on a Friday. We'd had a sales meeting with my team. We'd spent all day. The guys were giving me a real hard time. They were unhappy about things that were happening, and I was trying to deal with it. And I don't blame the company. Right. We worked together. And I thought, at the end of the day, these guys hate me. It's so bad. And at the end of the day, we're wrapping up and I'm putting my stuff away. And, one of the guys came up and said, Alan, are you coming for a beer with us, with the team? Are you coming with us? And I thought, wow, they do like me. And I said to him, I said, "Oh, I thought you guys didn't like me anymore." No, 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 no. You're our boss. We'll help you. We'll support you. We just get a bit upset with the company and so on. So
Right.
stick with your team, support your team, stand by them all the way, and you have battles to fight with your boss. There's no doubt about maybe you've got a fabulous relationship with your boss, but at the end of the day, the most important people to you are your team
Right.
because they will help you be successful, make you
Absolutely.
look good.
Absolutely. Our theme is breaking out. So we've heard so much about sales seminars. Every middle management is being taught about making more sales, getting more customers, and so on and so forth. So now you move to a different side to it, and you're talking about sales via motivation, and what motivation can do in terms of a sales
Yeah.
growth prospect. So. This is like getting away from the regular stuff and breaking out into something different. So when did you ever feel in your life or workspace that you were stuck in some place, you broke out of it, and you created something different? What did you do about it? I mean, when were you out of the rut?
I you know, I mean, I think a lot of it. I mean, I started my life as an engineer. I worked in a factory
Right.
as an engineer. I served an apprenticeship. I was there for 6 years, and by the end of that time, I looked at myself and I thought, well, is this it? Is this me for the rest of my days? I looked at the people around me, people more senior to me, and I realized this situation where you got up in the morning, you went on the bus, the same bus at the same time, you went to the factory, you did what you had to do, you went for your lunch at the same time, you did the same thing, you came home at the same time, and you repeated it all. And for me and a lot of my colleagues, people around me say, "Oh, I'm fed up," and "Oh, we're stuck here, we're in a rut," and whatever. And I thought, well, I have to do something about it. I have to do something about it. And it has to come from within.
Right.
And you have to seriously talk to yourself. And I decided I'd like to get into sales.
Right.
To get into sales. And that's tough. I wrote to lots of people, applied for lots of jobs. And people would say, "What experience do you have in sales?" And I would say, well, none really. I've just been in engineering,
Right.
but you keep trying.
Right.
You must keep trying. It's what all the motivational speakers will tell you. You've got to keep trying. Never give up. When I wrote my first book, I must have sent it to every publisher in the world. The book everywhere, Singapore, America,
Right.
and they all said, "Thanks, but no thanks.
Right.
We don't need it." And then one publisher said, "Well, we kind of like it, but we don't know if it would sell. But if you're ever passing, pop in and have a coffee with us."
Right.
Now, they were in London and I was in Scotland.
Right.
And I said, funnily enough, "I'll be in London next week," which wasn't true.
Right.
And I got in my car and I drove down to London
Okay.
and went to see these people.
Right.
And by the end of the meeting, they said, "Oh, right, okay, we'll think about it." And a week later, they phoned me and said, "We'll publish your book."
Super.
So really what I'm saying is I'm not any smarter than anybody else. I'm not any, but all I look to say is, well, if you want to do it, you're just going to have to get up off your bottom and
Right.
get out there and
Right.
do it.
Go there and do it. Right. I mean, it's the persistence, and it's not the smarter people, it's the people who can stick to it long enough.
Yeah.
The people who probably succeed. So what are your give us a few factors of your success. I mean, if somebody was to take the takeaway from this interview while talking to you, what were your key factors of success?
Well, I always believe that success is different for everyone. Success is different for everyone.
Right.
You might want to be a successful accountant. You might want to be a successful plumber. You might not want to make millions of dollars or pounds or whatever.
Right.
But most people want to be successful. And, for me, you've got to keep an open mind. You must keep an open mind. You must realize that the world is changing. You must embrace technology. I have people saying, "Oh, Facebook, that's for kids. It's a lot of nonsense." That's up to you. But I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn because I look to do that. One, I learn from other people.
Right.
I learn so much from other people. I get newsletters sent to me.
Right.
And some I'll scan through them. I think I'm not interested. Oh, that's good. That's interesting. That's good. So keep learning all the time.
Right.
Just keep learning from other people.
Right.
And then, and keep an open mind. Try and keep an open mind,
Right.
and think, okay, things are different. And it's difficult because you think, well, my parents didn't do this, or it wasn't like this when I was at school. Yeah, that's history. That's gone. What about the kids nowadays? What do they want? If they're going, you're going to work with these kids, if you're their manager and you're maybe 10 years older than them or 20 years older than them, you have to realize that they see the world in a different way. So keep an open mind. It's what I try to do. Get out there and talk to people. Talk to as many people as you can. Your mother probably told you not to speak to strangers.
Right.
Well, speak to strangers.
Right.
I was at the dentist this morning, and I always speak to the dentist. And I always chat with her, and we have a bit of rapport now. And her name's Pearly. Would you believe Pearly? I think it's a wonderful name for a dentist.
Right.
Pearly White.
Right. Pearly White. Right. Right. So yeah, that's nice. And I think it's very important why what you've done is very different from what all salespeople teach and talk about. So I'm very glad that I'm talking to you, and I'm hoping that the viewers are watching and they see that there is a level of managing people, and it boils down to what motivates each person. So all of us need to start learning about people, how to work around them, how to keep happy in a given environment or create an environment which is happier for all of us. So thank you very much, Alan. It was wonderful speaking with you, and much to learn from you. And I'm sure people are going to read your books. We're going to put that up on your slide later. Your books and your website address. So thank you very much for being here.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.